you please don't back up the track. This train's got to run today. I spent a little time on the mountain, spent a little time on the hill. Heard some say better run away, others say better stand still. Now I don't know, but I've been told it's hard to run with the weight of gold. On the other hand, I heard it said it's just as hard with the weight of lead.
Hi, my name is Roberto Raban. I've been a photographer most of my life, and it's my pleasure to sit with you for a few minutes and talk about my life and my work. I came to New York, I landed in Brooklyn actually, in the early years of rock and roll. In fact, my very first show I ever saw, a live show, was at the Brooklyn Fox Theater in 1964, I believe. And it was the Motown Revue, hosted by Murray Decay, who's a great DJ back in the day. I got to see Little Stevie Wonder, Martha the Vandellas, Jane Americans, The Miracles, you name it. All of those early acts from the Motown sound were all there. It was incredible, all in one day. Marvin Gaye, I mean, it was just over the top, amazing. The Ronettes, that's how my rock and roll world started. I really got introduced to it because all my friends were musicians. I couldn't play guitar to save my life, but I had a camera. And for me, it was an opportunity to document and record my world, what I was seeing, what I was experiencing. So I started shooting every band you could think of back in the day when they were just starting up. Everyone from Jimi Hendrix to obviously the Grateful Dead, Big Brother and the Holding Company, the Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver Messenger Service, the Charlatans. It took many years to absorb what was really going on. It was the tail end of the beatnik era. And so I got to see people like Son House, Bob Dylan early on, Peter, Paul and Mary, the folk singers, Pete Seeger, Dave Van Ronk, Rambling Jack Elliott. These are people that were the precursors to rock and roll as we know it today. And that was a transition to Jimi Hendrix, to the Dead, to all of the other bands that came after that. So I got to see the very beginnings of what we now consider to be classic rock. I didn't think of myself as a professional. I wasn't earning my living. You can get, if you got $15 for a picture for our little newspaper like the East Village Other or the San Francisco Oracle or the Berkeley Barb, that was big money. 15 bucks for a picture, oh my God, it's amazing, you know. So, however, things change. As I was working at the Fillmore East as a usher to make a few bucks, literally mopping the floors and sweeping up. I knew that Hendrix was coming in that particular afternoon to do a sound check. Went home, got my camera, I had a 2 1/4 Yashica camera, and I hung out by the stage, backstage area, waiting for him to show up. And his truck showed up with the equipment, and as they unloaded, you know, he nodded to me, said, hello, how you doing? You know, we said, hey, you know, traded some small talk, and I said, I want to take a picture at some point. He said, yeah, sure, why not? So at one point, standing backstage, waiting for his gear to be unloaded and get ready, I had him stand on the house light, which was pretty glaring kind of light. So I had him stand in, I had a harsh shot and it looked really cool. So I did like a roll of film, 2 1/4, which was I think 12 shots in a roll. And I lived like 2 blocks away, so while they were doing their thing, I ran home. I snuck out. I was supposed to be working, but I snuck out of work. Ran home, developed the film in my bathroom, my little tiny dark room, and made proof sheets. And later that evening around 8:30, 9 o'clock, he shows up for his gig. He was always late, I don't know why, but anyway, so he showed up and I made my way to his dressing room and I handed him the proof sheets from earlier. And he was like, what the? He was like blown out, he couldn't believe it, you know, that this happened, like I got these pictures. And he was like, everybody's making a fuss about it. So he was so happy and excited and impressed by this. So he reached into his pocket. You know, he struggled to get into his pockets because his jeans were super tight. Even though he was a skinny dude, but it's like they were like painted on him. Anyways, he reaches in and pulls out a rumpled up some bills, and he had like $100 bill, and he handed it to me. I said, what? No, I don't want it. No way. And he kept shoving it. No, you gotta have this. No, it's yours. And he took the picture and said, this is for you, man. So So I said, cool, dang, so I took it. And so $100 back then in '67 was, I paid my rent, I bought food at the A&P, bought a bunch of tokens, bought pizza, and I was able to buy a lid of weed with $100. So I was happy. So that was my first professional gig. And this was analog photography, so you really need to know what you're doing, because you get that one shot, and you don't even know what you got until you develop the film later on. So you better know what light is doing, how to set your apertures, the speed of the film and the speed of the camera, and all of these complicated things that you need to master. I had a lot of friends, in that world. For me, Jerry Garcia was definitely one of those people that we shared a lot. We had a lot in common, being Latinos, and his Spanish was terrible, so I would rib him about it, and I tried to coach him a little bit about it. And I can recall the first time we met. He's walking up the Haight carrying some bags or something, some luggage or whatever, and he was struggling with it. So I said, "Hey, yo, let me help you." We didn't say yo back then. It was more like, "Hey, dude, can I help you out, man?" So I walked Santo over. "Yeah, man, give me a hand." And what's your name? My name is Jerry. And I said, "My name is Roberto." I said, "Roberto, are you Latino or something? You're Mexican?" You're not Mexican, right? So I said, "No, I'm not Mexican. I'm Panamanian, whatever." So we became buddies. Walked him over to the house, and I lived around the corner. And so we just hit it off. It was one of those nice situations. I didn't know anything about him until I saw them play. This is early on in their career. And I understood what he was doing, because I'd come from New York. And in New York, I was around the jazz guys, the early jazz guys. So I saw the jazzy side of him right off the bat. And we talked about a lot of the jazz musicians that I knew about, like Coltrane, Miles Davis, obviously, Rahsaan Roland Kirk, Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus. These are people that he idolized and looked up to. And so we had deep conversations about music and the purpose of music, and how it transcended languages and borders. This is one of my favorite images I shot of Jerry. This was at the Berkeley Community Theater one afternoon. They were setting up, just arrived obviously, so the stage is empty. So he basically had his little amps and his little suitcase with all his stuff in it. And we were doing all beers, and this is my beer and that's his beer. And it's actually just the two of us in the Berkeley Community Theater. The crew was outside unloading the trucks, and Jerry was eager to get on stage and start dueling around and tuning up and everything else. And I just asked him, I said, "Yeah, why don't you play a little Dark Star for me? That's my favorite tune." So he went right into it and started playing around with it, going all over the place. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite images of him. Jerry's roots were really started out in bluegrass and folks, but mostly bluegrass. It's American roots music, as it were. And then he transitioned from that, obviously, because of psychedelics, and LSD played a huge role in all of this. Because, you went from the prankster era, the acid test that was pretty funky, like this was even before bluegrass, or during bluegrass, someplace along there, that continuum. Then you had the fact that LSD transformed the band from being a bluegrass, blues-based band into what we all know about them now, today. So to me, a piece like Dark Star, Slipknot, even Franklin's Towers, St. Stephen's, all of those musical pieces, with the collaboration of Robert Hunter, is to me the meat and potatoes of who the Dead became. That solid base, and they can go from anywhere in that continuum as well. But the interesting thing about Jerry that I love the most is that he was a consummate musician. He mastered anything he decided to play, whether it's steel pedal guitar, the banjo, various guitars, and he just had that. That's what he had to do. There was nothing else he could do. He was compelled to play. And so every time I saw him, pretty much he had a guitar with him. He was always playing something. Rarely did the guitar maybe, a foot away from him. It was right nearby, like an appendage. And so watching him over the years develop his style and see him get better and better, as it were, more articulate, more eloquent at what he was trying to do. And I really appreciated the mastery. So I made it my business to really document him in the early years. And as you can see, some of the work that I shot from very, very beginning, from the time of the first album, all the way through from the middle to the end of their career, to his career rather. So I saw it from the very beginning, the roots. So I was privileged in that way. My particular style is to be inobtrusive, to be quiet on the side. I don't want to be the story. The story is in front of me, and the work hopefully will outlive me. It's my legacy.